everyone, it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. Now, we're going to take a look at all of the Easter eggs in the first episode of the Wheel of Time. So, if you're new to the channel or you don't know what I do here, I cover anything and everything to do with the Wheel of Time show, currently filming Season 2 right now. So, if you like this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the notification button. I'm putting out 4 or 5 videos per episode of the show that drops, in addition to all of the news that is circulating around the second season right now. I'm still covering all of that. So there's going to be a literal ton of content between now and Christmas, and you're not going to want to miss any of it. Now, before we get into the video, I want to warn you about a couple of things. In this video, I'm not going to discuss too much the changes between the source material and the actual show, mainly because in my breakdown video, I did just that. What we're going to do is we're going to go through this and I'm going to pick out certain elements of the first episode that are Easter eggs, things that the fans would notice and appreciate that perhaps non-book readers wouldn't, and a lot of them are small, but they're really cool to see. Now, there are some elements of the new scenes that I also want to talk about, but we'll get to that when we get there. Now, before we get started, spoiler warning. In this video, we're going to talk about certain elements of Episode 1 of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show. So, if you haven't seen that episode, be forewarned, I'm going to ruin pretty much the entire episode for you. However, I'm also going to ruin essentially up to and including A Memory of Light for you. So that's books 1 through 14 of the Wheel of Time series, and I'm giving that as a blanket spoiler warning because I'm going to talk about certain things from the book series all over the place to kind of explain some of these Easter eggs. So if you haven't read the book series and you plan on doing it, be forewarned, I'm going to spoil some things from later on. But if you don't care, well, we're going to get into the video right now. Alright, so, yeah, kind of a hefty spoiler warning, I know, but these Easter egg videos, I think all of them are going to be up to and including Memory of Light for spoilers, just because that blanket covers me if I say something I probably shouldn't, because I noticed something in my last breakdown video that was a couple of books ahead where I gave the spoiler warning, because I like to talk. I ramble on a lot. You folks know that. You watch my channel, so there's that. Now, this first image is from the opening scene. We've seen it a number of times before. I've shown it here on the channel because this opening scene was released as promotional footage a couple of weeks ago and we've dissected it already. However, now that we've seen episode 1, I wanted to show this particular little statue once more. And that's because we figured this was an Angreal, something used to magnify the amount of one power that can be used safely. However, it was not used at all during the episode, and it was shown at the beginning of the episode. Now, we know in the book series she uses it to heal Tam because she needs a whole bunch of the one power to do so, and that's pretty much the only time during the first little bit of the book that would happen during the first episode that she would use this statue, and we didn't get to see it at all. So, it's entirely possible she used it during the fight scene at the end because she was using a ton of the one power. A ton of fireballs flying around, throwing those bricks at them, picking them up, ripped a Trolloc in half with air. A lot of different weaves all at once, which is very difficult for the Aes Sedai, especially during the first little bit of the book series. It isn't until much later when Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene start training and become really powerful that they start being able to use multiple weaves at once, and super powerful weaves at that, because they are so strong. A lot of the Aes Sedai aren't that powerful now. Don't get me wrong, Moiraine is one of the most powerful Aes Sedai in the world currently in the book series, until these young girls are trained up. However, she may be pulling through an Angreal at that point because she is using so much of the power. So I wanted to show that here because we didn't get to see it in the first episode, and my thoughts are maybe there's a reason. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Now we're going to talk about this scene. This happens directly after that, and this is where we have that gentleman running with his friend that disappears because his friend isn't real, and it's part of the madness. We know that madness is showcased later on in the book series when Rand talks to Lews Therin, and sort of a disembodied voice in his head. I think this was put in here completely on purpose to show us that this is part of what they can see for the madness, because when we see it later on, we're probably going to see it this way. Now, we all know Alexander Karim is going to play Lews Therin, and he's going to show up in episode 8 of the first season. Now, he doesn't really start showing up in Rand's head till much later, after Rand starts channeling the one power a whole bunch and starts going mad. But I think instead of a disembodied voice, we're probably going to see the actor on screen, and they can converse and talk together and interact. And I think it would be kind of neat to see Rand doing stuff and just have Lews Therin standing in the background watching him for no reason. It would be super creepy, and I think that's why they showed us here now, so we can kind of get used to that when they showcase the madness later. I mean, maybe I'm mad. I don't know. But let me know in the comments down below if you think that's part of the reason why they showcase this particular version of the madness. Now, this here might be a reach, and I want your guys' help with it. So I'm going to show you 2 images, and I want you to see if you can figure out what I mean, because I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining this. So in this particular image here, we have the gentleman that gets gentled during that scene. He has a ring attached to his chest. That ring has a sort of an image or some kind of medallion in the middle of it. Then we have Liandrin. Take a look at her wrist, the buckle on her wrist. That buckle, brass or copper, whatever it is, on that leather, really nice leather bracer actually, seems to be almost the same thing he has in his chest. Now, we know that Liandrin is from Terrebonne. We know that she went to the White Tower because she was poor and emulated rich folk her whole life because she wanted to be rich. She wanted to be powerful. When she was raised to Aes Sedai, she joined the Red, and then she joined the Black directly thereafter. So we know she's a bad guy. She is definitely not a great person, and she participated, we believe, in the vileness. It's not really super described a whole lot in the books, but I think that's what they're showcasing here. Now, what we also know about Liandrin is that she's very powerful in compulsion. So I'm wondering if she knew this person. I mean, they look the same to me. It's hard to tell. I wonder if she knew this person and she compelled them to do this, or she's using this to raise her stature. Now, the other thing, too, is she's hunting this particular man that Moiraine is after, and Moiraine says it's not him, and they take off, because he's of a certain age, also the same age as the Dragon Reborn, and she's Black Aja. Again, probably a small Easter egg to the fans, showcasing that she is already searching for the Dragon Reborn, for the Dark One, when we see it later on. Maybe, perhaps. Again, probably a reach. Let me know if you can find any correlation between that medallion and that image on her wrist. I mean, I think so, but I could be reaching. I'm probably looking too deep into things. Now we see this. We've seen this a few times before. It is from promotional materials and the teaser trailer where Egwene gets yeeted into the river. She struggles a whole bunch and almost drowns. When she surrenders, she floats to the top. So a small Easter egg to the fans of the book series, showcasing that if she surrenders, she can use the one power, so to speak. When she surrenders, she's okay. And they do later on kind of talk about the one power like it's water. All right. This here I want to talk about a little bit because we have seen in other promotional material in the last few months a scene where Egwene rises up out of a pool and there's all kinds of dye around her. It's all over her face. Corey Lansell, the artist, actually did a really nice artistic depiction of it. It is a beautiful image, very iconic, very cool, and I'm super sad they didn't keep it in the first episode because it was beautiful. I liked looking at it. Like it was great to see on the screen. Maybe they couldn't fit it in, or they're trying to keep the runtime down. I don't know. I know it seems like they cut it together a little bit weird in some spots. But when she climbs out of the river here and gets on the riverbank, she's wearing that dress. That dress is covered in dye. So I think this happens after that scene that was shot. And that scene that was shot was supreme foreshadowing to the fact that she eventually becomes the Amyrlin, because the Amyrlin is of all Ajas and none, so all colors and none, and most of those colors seem to represent different Ajas. It also seemed to represent the fact that the Women's Circle and the women of this world were more in tune with Aes Sedai values, and the Aes Sedai had more of held more sway over their culture than in the book series. Again, I may be reaching a little bit here, but that's what I think. Now, we're going to see later on in another image I'm going to show Nynaeve cleaning that same cave we've seen in the promotional material, and she's cleaning up the dye. So that definitely was shot for the show. It just wasn't kept in for whatever reason, and I'm kind of sad it wasn't because I liked it. Maybe they'll release an extended cut later on, or behind the scenes we'll get to see it again. I don't know. All right. This here... This is the very first scene of the first book, first chapter after the prologue. Rand and Tam are walking into town. They're leading Bella. On the cart is, the cider and the brandy and stuff. And Tam has his spear. Rand has his bow. I kept this in here mainly because this is not quite shot for shot the same, but it's pretty close. I think it was a nod to the book creators showing that we understand this is how it started. We're going to keep this in. Even though the black cloaked rider didn't appear, even though it wasn't quite exactly the same, it was a little nod to us showcasing that is how the book series started, and they wanted to keep that in. I liked it. I liked seeing this. As soon as I saw it, I got all warm and fuzzy and nostalgic, and I was like, oh, I remember that. It made me happy anyway. All right, now this picture here of Emond's Field, I just wanted to showcase the river in the background. In the books, it's described as being rapids. There's the rapids. I had a few people in comments, another one of my videos say, well, it's supposed to be rapids, and it's not. Because it was too calm. There it is there behind them in rapids. It basically protects their town. So there you go. All right. Now we're going to showcase a couple of different people here. This first lady over here with the dark hair second from the left, I guess is the best way to put it. She's laughing. She's having a good time. That's Days Conquer. Now, she was revealed as a casting, and she's pretty important because she becomes the Emond's Field wisdom after Nynaeve leaves. So I don't know if she's going to be a recurring character or not. There's no information on how long her role lasts or if she comes back at all. Again, only the first 3 episodes have been released, and we don't really go back to the Two Rivers in the book series until, like, book 4. However, I want to showcase her here because she is a named character, and she was shown very briefly in a few different scenes, and there she is. Now, we're going to talk about this scene here. Now, this shows Perrin, Mat, and Rand. And what does Matt have in his hands? He has a dice cup. And they're talking about his gambling habits, how he's lost a lot of money, things like that. And look what shows up. It's almost the Dark One's eyes. He's one dice off. And they look just like the dice that you see at the beginning of the chapters where it showcases Matt. And I love seeing this. I saw this, and right away I was like, chapter icon. Very cool to see. Little nod to the fans, little Easter egg to the fans. I liked seeing that. All right, we know that this gentleman here was cast as Sen Bui. Now, Amazon and Sony released his casting as Sen Bui quite some time ago, and everyone got very excited about it because, I mean, although not a central character to the book series, and I think I said that in my breakdown, he's a central character. No, he comes back later on. He's part of the Village Council. He's a nice little flavor character. He's an add-on. It's really cool to see him. They changed his name on IMDb to Cranky Old Man. And I think that's because he dies. He gets absolutely just destroyed in the Trolloc attack. The man dies. Maybe they want to keep Sen Bui open for later on when they come back to Emond's Field and then cast somebody else in the role. I don't know. But this was initially Sen Bui. That's why I wanted to include this here. He's a gentleman in the middle of the stick, in case you're wondering. All right, now we're going to talk about this. This is interesting. So this is a scene that is not in the book series, and this isn't really an Easter egg or a nod to the fans so much as something I want to talk about because the very last image I'm going to show you, I need this to set it up. So this is Lila Ibarra, Perrin's wife. Now, we all know that during the first episode, they're together. She seems upset. She seems, sad when she's with him. She's not out celebrating at the inn. She stays back at the fort. She's getting her frustrations out, smithing something. When they're laying in bed together, she's looking at him lovingly and holding his hand, but also with a whole lot of sadness. Just an extreme amount of sadness. And this picture here showcases that sadness. Now remember that. Please remember that, so when I get to the very final image here, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to reference this again, but I wanted to show you that. All right. So here we have Lan and Moiraine in a tub together. This was that infamous, I don't know what you'd call it, scene where you got to see Lan's backside, so Daniel Henney's backside. My wife made me pause it so she could take it all in. Basically, this is a little nod and Easter egg to the fans because this doesn't really happen in the first book. This is not a scene from the Eye of the World. However, it does showcase how close they are. And I said this in my breakdown video, that they're more like family. There's no sexual tension here whatsoever. There's nothing like that in any way, shape, or form, but it shows how comfortable they are. They've been together forever, and I think that's a nice little nod to the fans to show us that they do understand that their relationship is like that. So I wanted to include that here. That's that image I was talking about with Nynaeve cleaning the pit where Egwene came up out of. You can see the dye. You can see some of the blue and yellow dye in the background. She's basically just scrubbing it, and in this scene with Moiraine, she references how this was a sacred place. Again, referencing those scenes that we did not see that were shot, that we've seen from promotional material that I really would have liked to see included because they were pretty and they were iconic looking. But this is what she's cleaning up there in case you're wondering. All right, another little nod to the fans here. You have Lan out wandering through the woods. This is prior to the Trolloc attack on Emond's Field. And you see all these sheep slaughtered, and they are in the shape of a dragon's fang. Again, something that only the fans would really understand. I don't think that non-book readers would see this and immediately go, that looks like the upside-down part of the yin-yang symbol that we haven't seen yet in the show or hasn't been described as a symbol of the Aes Sedai. So, this is another little nod to the fans. Really neat. I like seeing stuff like this. These are the things I really like seeing. All right, I had to include this because this is where Rand and Tam are lighting their lantern prior to the attack on their farm. He doesn't use a coal. He doesn't use a stick. He uses a book of matches. Is it possible that they have matches? 100%. So if those of you who read the book series, you're going to know that later on in the book series, they make an illuminator, and they're the ones that make fireworks, and she created something called strikers. Those strikers are matches. So they do exist in the Wheel of Time world. They're technically not created until much later in the book series, or introduced at the very least. They could possibly be created before then, but it's not a big stretch to think that they made them prior to, and they're selling them, maybe some of the traders and stuff selling them. Hard to come by. They're probably not making them themselves. But for those of you who are wondering, and I've had quite a few people send me a message going, why does he have matches? Matches do exist in the world. They're called strikers, just not till much later. So it's plausible that they're here. Just want to show that. All right, so this is something I want to talk about here. This is during Winter Night. This is Perrin Fain. So Perrin Fain is basically just chilling out, watching everything going on, and when the attack starts, he kind of laughs about it and he walks away, completely unscathed. Now, those of us who read the book series, we know that he's a bad dude. He brought the Trollocs in Winter Night. However, because he failed to get the one of the three boys, the Dragon Reborn, they kind of, ran him with everyone else and stuffed him, doubled up in a cook pot. They did all kinds of terrible things to him to go somewhere else. This seems like they've leveled up Perrin Fain just a little bit. Now, something I want to mention here that I'm going to mention in my Easter egg video for episode 2 and 3. As he's walking away, he's whistling. And we hear that whistle again in episode 2 in Shadar Logoth, and we hear it again in episode 3. So, I think that even though we're not going to see Perrin Fain much during the first season, he's always there. I think he's going to be showcased as one of those overreaching dark friends. We're going to see him a lot. As far as we know, he's only supposed to be in one episode in the first season. Maybe, just maybe, we're wrong. Maybe he's coming back. I would really love that. However, you can hear him whistling here, and if you haven't already done it, go back and rewatch episode 2 and 3. You'll hear him whistling those 2 episodes again. I'll talk about that when I do those Easter egg videos. Just kind of tie it all together. I think we're going to see a little nod to him in every single episode. All right, this is during the attack on Winter Night. Matt's basically just running through everyone hauling ass, and he gets through completely unscathed. He falls over a Trolloc that's on the ground eating someone. He bounces off another one. He is running through people. Now, if you've noticed, the Trollocs are trying to capture Perrin, Rand, and Matt, and Egwene-ish. They capture Nynaeve for sure, but they don't seem to be directly trying to kill them in most of the scenes. Yes, Perrin fights him in the Forge. It looks like they're trying to kill him. Narg at the farmhouse, which we'll show here in a second, he definitely looks like he's trying to kill Rand, but I think they're under orders to take them alive, I believe. So this is one of two things. Either this is showing that they're not going to get Matt, because they're not going to try to kill him, or it's starting to showcase his luck. I know for some of you are saying, well, he doesn't get his luck till much later on after he's healed in the White Tower from the dagger from Shadar Logoth. However, maybe, just maybe, they're showcasing it just a bit early here, because he got through this completely unscathed and was just kind of bouncing around, fumbling and bumbling, and it was really a little comical to watch. All right, so remember I mentioned Narg? This is who we believe to be Narg. Now, Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, had said we will definitely see Narg. It will happen. He's not cutting Narg. He's a fan favorite. He's iconic. And then we had the fight scene in the farmhouse with Tam and Rand, and they fight this Trolloc here. He is a wolf-snouted Trolloc, like Narg is. However, he doesn't speak, and the scene is vastly different from the book. So this might just be a little Easter egg to the fans showing this is Narg because he's a wolf-snouted Trolloc. I don't think we're going to see Narg later on. That was one of the questions I had somebody pose me. Was this Narg, or are we going to see him later? Because Rafe said he's in, but this Narg didn't talk. I had said before that if I thought they were going to include Narg at all, he probably wouldn't talk because it would confuse non-book readers, because he is really one of the very few Trollocs to talk. Yes, they do talk again in book 4. They all say one word, a bunch of them, and they are known to talk occasionally, the smarter ones, but I think it would confuse people. So I think this is our Easter egg. I think this is Narg. All right, so this is the Heron on Tam's blade. So he pulls this out. Nice little nod to the fans. A lot of people were very upset. There's no heron on the blade. There's no heron on the pommel. How's this going to work? There's the heron for everybody who's looking. And when he pulls it out from underneath his bed on the chest, there's another heron embossed there. It is definitely a Blade Master's blade. Tam seemed a little rusty when he was using it. However, if he hadn't used a sword in 20 years, I forgive him completely. This is the last thing I want to talk about here. do you remember the image I showed you earlier of Lila and Perrin? They don't look very happy. Every scene we've seen them in, Lila looked very sad. She looked very upset, very despondent. When Perrin's asleep, she looked sad. When they were working together in the forge, she looked sad. He went off celebrating by himself. She was home alone, looked sad. There's a ton of theories out there. Maybe she was pregnant. Maybe she miscarried. Maybe they're having marital issues. No one really knows. But this particular image here, Perrin was killing a Trolloc. And the Trolloc was dead. And he was basically just berserker raging him into little pieces on the ground. There was no chance that Trolloc was going to get up and attack him. He felt, heard, sensed something move behind him, spun around, and buried his axe in his wife's belly. Now, a lot of people thought this was foreshadowing that she was pregnant or different things like that. But look how she's standing. She had a giant hammer from the forge, and that's what she was using to fight the Trollocs. She had that lifted up over her head like she's going to strike, and the only thing in front of her was her husband. So here's my wild theory. This is a little bit of a stretch, and this is going to tie into the Easter eggs I'm going to give you for episode 2 and 3, because there are other clues in those episodes for this theory, and I'll bring it up again. I think she's a dark friend. I think she married Perrin, is with Perrin, for one very specific reason. That's because he is of a certain age, and she was sent there to watch him. Just like Pet and Fane had a relationship with Matt. You notice they talk a lot. They were there together. The only person that really didn't seem to have someone from the outside world to look after him out of the three boys was Rand, was Yosha. Don't know why. Maybe we're going to see something later on. But maybe, just maybe, and this is what I want to believe, is that she's probably a dark friend. She's probably sent there to watch him, and then when this happens, she's just going to kill him. This makes sense for a bunch of different reasons that I'll highlight in my next 2 Easter egg videos, but he is crushed that he killed his wife. He's absolutely just beside himself. Yes, it explains his character a little bit, where he's quiet, he's reserved, he's going to be slow to act, and he's going to be careful, but he's also completely destroyed emotionally currently in the show. I think that later on, if we find out that she's a dark friend, it'll make it easier for him to justify to himself killing her. He'll still be slow, he'll still be careful, he'll still be deliberate, but he won't be so depressed and won't blame himself as much, and he can start to come back a little bit, especially when he meets Fael. That's my theory there anyway. I hope you guys like it. Now, that's pretty much all the Easter eggs I have for episode 1. I am sure there are a ton of them I missed, so if I missed any, let me know in the comments down below. I want to hear all about it, because the show's only been out a couple of days. I've only watched the first episode maybe 3 or 4 times, so I probably missed some things. Let me know what you folks have caught, and again, I'll compile them all, and then at the end of the season, after episode 8, I'll do a big Easter egg video of all the stuff I missed, all the stuff you guys send me, and we'll talk about them all then too. So, I want to thank you all so very much for sticking with me here to the very end, and here's to many more.